Surely the presence of Spirit is here as we move into this time of meditation. Being fully present ourselves allows for a deeper experience of the presence of Spirit. We begin with allowing our bodies to get comfortable in our seats, to slowly relax. Knowing we are safe, that Spirit's light, love, and protection are always with us. Let's take a few moments to just settle gently into our seats in this safe space. As our awareness gently opens, we become even more aware of our breathing. We don't need to change it or control it. Our bodies will continue to breathe for us. As we relax, our breathing may become slower or deeper. The breath of life fills us with the energy of Spirit. This energy circulates through our bodies, animating us. Let's take a few moments to be with our breath. Even more sensitively, we may become aware of our heartbeat, the rhythm that sustains life. Our hearts are also an energy center where love and compassion flow from Spirit into us and flow out from us into the world. Let's take a few moments to feel into our heart centers. Now noticing sensations in the body, whether comfortable or uncomfortable, sensations arise and dissolve in our awareness. The peacefulness of Spirit allows us to calmly experience whatever sensations arise. Let's take a few moments to be with any sensations we may feel in our body. Emotions and thoughts may also arise and dissolve. Our awareness remains open and peaceful, naturally expanding, feeling our connection with Spirit. Just allowing emotions and thoughts to come and go, we remain peaceful. Within the movement of sensations, emotions, and thoughts, there is stillness at the center. We sense this inner stillness. We rest in the silence. Gently returning our attention to this space, this sanctuary. Opening our eyes as we feel comfortable to do so, moving our bodies as we may need. Knowing that at any time we can go within and experience the peace and love that is always available to us. Experience the stillness at the center as we flow with the movement of life. In gratitude for this experience of being present with Spirit, knowing that each of us is one with the source of all, I say, and so it is. Amen.
How you doing? Make it all right? Cool. We want to continue our series from the great book by the Reverend Eric Butterworth called In the Flow of Life. And can I get that quote up there? There's the handsome Reverend Eric Butterworth. We're looking for, as a result of examining this book, we're looking for a consciousness of the dynamic flow of life, that we may experience a progressive outforming of this flow in creative and dynamic ways in every phase of our lives. That's a lot of stuff, ain't it? But I believe we can do it. And like I say, every time I go through this series, I get more. I'm getting it. I mean, the more I do it, the more I get hold of it in a fresh and new way. So today we want to talk on part 2, spider sense. Spider sense. And interestingly, Spider-Man's latest movie came out Friday. Anybody seen it yet? I must see it. Spider-Man was an enormous part of my misspent youth, and I do value him so much. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can, spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, there comes the Spider-Man. Oh, I love it so. Thank you so much. And, of course, we honor and appreciate Spider-Man. And Miss Margaret, if I got this right, Spinne. Spinne, that's the German word for spider, so thank you. So we want to talk about spider sense this morning. And if you remember from the character in the comic books and on the cartoons, he had something called Spidey sense. Anybody remember that? These waves would come out of his head, and he'd say, "My Spidey sense is tingling." And that meant a villain or a dangerous situation was close at hand. He could sense it. I was going to put that picture up, but copyright and all that kind of stuff. And I knew he was busy with his new movie. If I call, he wouldn't have time to talk to me about getting permission. But Spidey sense, spider sense, we're going to look at that because it's extremely important in finding the divine flow. And it starts out with a story from the book called The Executive and the Spider. And this was concerning an executive in a company. He had just gotten a notice that after 20 years of service, he was being dismissed from service. His company said, "We no longer need what you do. Maybe they put it in a nice way. You know how they do. We're holding you back from what's best for you. So we're going to can you, and then you'll be really doing good." And so this was a real blow to him after 20 years, you can imagine, of devoted service to this company. And he suddenly a wave of despair just came over him as he sat at his desk and looked at this notice. He got thinking, at my age, I got to find a whole new job. That was overwhelming to him. And the impossible task of living on just his retirement income. He knew his expenses were way too much. And then just the shock of no longer feeling needed, feeling useless, washed up, cast aside. All these waves of emotions were just coming upon him, as you can imagine. And about that time, he saw a spider on his desk. And he wasn't in a good mood anyway. And so he brushed it off his desk and said, to his amazement, he watched in awe as this tiny critter spun a strand to swing gracefully to the floor. And he got to thinking, if this little critter could flow so easily with its situation, because that had to be traumatic for him, right? Suddenly you're into the air, you were on a solid surface. And said if it could flow creatively, spin a web, bring itself down to the ground, then why can't I? Because he was feeling a lot like that spider, suddenly brushed off, cast aside. And he got to thinking, how wonderful, what a flow that spider was in all of a sudden. And he drew a conclusion. He said, I must have gotten somehow out of my natural flow of life. So he, as we said last week, he got his thoughts synchronized in consciousness with the flow of life, in the realization that his good did not come to him, but through him. It just came to him all of a sudden. And he suddenly had a new consciousness of the divine flow that he was out of just a few minutes ago in his despair. And he got to thinking he'd always wanted to be a writer. He felt like he had a talent for it, just never had the time to pursue it. He had time now. And he began to write articles and submit them to publications. And lo and behold, they started buying his articles, much to his delight. And he began a steady stream of writing and selling his writings. And before you know it, along with his retirement income, the income that he was drawing from his writing enabled him to have a degree of financial security he'd never known before. All because he got a fresh realization of the flow by observing spider sense. Now, last week, we talked about living life from within out, as opposed to without in. And we define that as looking for life, for satisfaction from the outside instead of from within. And every great teacher, every great sage of the ages has taught to find our satisfaction within. Isn't that true? From Lao Tzu, the Buddha, Jesus of Nazareth, all of them cherished and taught us you must find that life, that light within yourselves, for therein lies your greatest satisfaction, doesn't it? And so when we look outside for somebody or something else to fill our need, how many know we're always going to be frantically searching and never really getting a hold of it? Isn't that true? We got to find it in here, because that's where it be. And you see this with many young couples just starting out in life together. Not just young ones, but that stands out to me because so often a young couple starting out their life is frequently characterized as like two ticks with no dog. And they're just trying to draw life out of one another. Meet my need. Gimme, gimme, gimme. I need emotionally from you, and physically and sexually, and I need all these needs, so give them to me. And it's like two ticks, no dog. They're drawing the life out of each other till there's nothing left. Not just young couples. How many older couples get into practice of that if we're not careful? Isn't that right? I need. And recently I announced my determination to let Carolyn know that how much I love her and that I don't want to take her for granted. And I embarked on a mission. I told her, I said, I'm going to astound you with new acts of love and devotion such as you've never seen. And she's like, bring it on. And so I determined I was going to do new things, special things for her. And I got a big idea. One thing, I could be her personal valet. When she gets in and drives into the garage, I'm waiting, waving her into her parking place, open her door, take her stuff, see her in. Something that I thought I can do. And it's not a great big thing. It's not like taking her to Paris. It's a lot cheaper. And it still astounds her daily with my incredible devotion. And I've heard other people come to me and say, I'm stepping it up too with my significant other. All right, let's do it. And so it's important that we don't just, meet my need, but rather let me give to you. And in that, we're exceedingly blessed. Isn't that true? The scripture in Proverbs says, the leech has two daughters named Give and Give. And how many know some people live their lives at that level? Give to me. I'm a bottomless pit of need. You remember the movie Finding Dory? Remember that? Remember the seagulls? What did they say all the time? Mine, mine, mine. Some people live at that level. Not healthy. And indeed, ultimately not satisfying either, is it? Because see, if we look to a certain person to make us happy, that is akin to somebody making us mad. I mean, nobody can make us anything. Isn't that true? Make me happy. Come on. I need to be happy. It's up to you. That's not healthy, and it's not realistic. And it will be like the ticks with no dog. It'll drain the life out of them till they feel like they have nothing left. Nobody can make us happy. Nobody can make us mad. Nobody can make us anything. That's up to us, isn't it? We got to find that satisfaction from within out. So finding the flow within is the key to true happiness and satisfaction in life, isn't it? Let me read to you from a quote from the book from Ralph Waldo Emerson. And Mr. Reverend Butterworth made the point that Emerson was very unique and nobody really knew how to categorize him. Is he a theologian? Is he a philosopher? What is he? They finally came up with a whole new name for him, transcendentalist. So we don't know what else to call him. But he said some extraordinary and profound things concerning this concept of living life within out. Listen to this. He said, there is a principle which is the basis of all things, which all speech aims to say, and all action to evolve. A simple, quiet, undescribed, undescribable presence, dwelling very peacefully in us, our rightful Lord. We are not to do, but to let do. Not to work, but to be worked upon. And to this homage, there is a consent of all thoughtful and just people in all ages and conditions. To this sentiment belong vast and sudden enlargements of power. Our life might be much easier and simpler than we make it. The world might be a happier place than it is. There is no need of struggles, convulsions, despairs, wringing of hands, and gnashing of teeth. We miscreate our own evils. We interfere with nature. Butterworth says this is not an easy concept for many of us to grasp, as our experience seems to contradict it. To some people, that's normal. Well, of course, life is struggles, convulsions, despairs, wringing of hands, and gnashing of teeth. What else could it be? That's their belief. That's a dreadful concept, isn't it? That's life, man. Life's a blank, then you die. That's many people's philosophy. Life is a continual stream of misery, culminating ultimately in the sweet release of death. Can we do better than that? I think we can do better than that. How about you? As he said, that's interfering with the natural flow of divine life. Emerson goes on, we must unlearn the wisdom of the world, lie low in the divine circuits, and by so doing, open the door by which the affluents of heaven and earth stream into us. I like that better, don't you? Because what's called the wisdom of the world, wisdom, actually is not wise. It makes it prejudices our thinking. To think that, that series of misery, that's what life is. That's the wisdom that many people hold to in this world. But it's not wisdom at all. In John 8:32, Jesus said, you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. Butterworth makes the point here. Jesus didn't say you'll know about the truth. You'll know the truth, and a big difference. Now, personally, I got lots of books and notes I've written to myself about others. I've got all kinds of stuff like that. But when faced with a challenge, it's not so much what I got in my files, it's what I got in here, you see. What do I really know? Because what you really know is not found on what you've written down. It's what you have managed to absorb and receive within. Isn't that true? That's knowing the truth as opposed to about it. And says the greatest knowledge is the simple faith to be still and know I am in the flow. That's the greatest knowledge there is. Transcends any kind of other intellectual learning or understanding. He said there's an urgent point to make when we begin a search for truth. Truth is more than words or affirmations or books or teachings, and all those are good things and important things. But truth is more than that. It is a universal flow that it can only be vaguely caught in the web of human consciousness. After that spider again. in the web of human consciousness. How many know this is something that's caught more than it's taught? And we get it progressively, a little at a time. Sometimes we feel like we get a big load, and other times we get a little bit more. And every time I do this, I get a little bit more, a little more of the understanding of genuine truth that becomes part of me, you see. And so when a crisis emerges, be it a health challenge or a financial challenge or a relationship challenge, instead of having to run to my notes, I actually find within myself, hey, I can do this. I can handle this. Very important, isn't it? Reverend Butterworth makes the point that theology, whether traditional or metaphysical, has a tendency to crystallize truth and obstruct the flow. Isn't that interesting? That what we believe can actually at times hinder us because it shuts us off from further understanding. From fundamentalists, you know what fundamentalist means, right? We've gone over that before. No fun, kind of dumb, a little mental. But fundamentalists, see, they got it all figured out, and there's no more room to discuss anything. I challenged a fundamentalist friend of mine. I said, is it not possible, do you think, with all the advances humanity has made in science and medicine and technology, is it possible there's further understanding to gain concerning the spiritual things? He said, nope, it's all in the book. What are you going to do with that? And that's where I like to say the window becomes sacred instead of the scenery outside the window. See, every expression of faith, Islam, Buddhism, Christianity, Judaism, these are all windows. And the windows are designed to help us see the scenery and appreciate and understand it better. Isn't that true? I could put an ad out in the local paper. Come to Unity of Prescott. We have great windows. And how many of you think I was nuts? Understandably so. Because the objective is not the window, it's what is outside the window, isn't it? And so all these expressions of faith are windows that have become sacred in themselves instead of the scenery outside. Isn't that true? You see what I mean? We can get so hung up on the window, we miss the scenery. Isn't that right? Windows of truth that point us toward the reality of the universe that can only be experienced firsthand as a flow from within ourselves. Let me quote again from Mr. Emerson. Truth is within ourselves. It takes no rise from outward things, whatever you may believe. There is an inmost center in us all, where truth abides in fullness and around. Wall upon wall, the gross flesh hems it in, this perfect, clear perception, which is truth. A baffling and perverting carnal mesh binds it and makes all error. And to know consists in opening out a way whence the imprisoned splendor may escape. I like that, don't you? Turn to somebody and say, I got imprisoned splendor in here, man. And it must get out. He goes on, the imprisoned splendor may escape, that in effecting entry for a light rather supposed to be without. But the light was within, the flow was within, and it must be released. Emmett Fox said something cool. Life is consciousness. Anybody remember that statement? Life is consciousness. And how many know a truer statement there never was? But Reverend Butterworth makes the point that consciousness is more than what we're thinking consciously. How many know it's also the deeper than conscious thought, the accumulation in our subconscious minds? How many know what we're not thinking affects our thoughts? Isn't that true? Not consciously thinking. That has, like we call reprogramming, if you will. It's deeper than conscious thought, you see. It refers to the relationship we have with the allness of God mind and the degree to which we have laid claim to it. Because how many know there's always more there to access, isn't it? It always will be, which is a wondrous thing. All throughout the course of our life, there's more we can draw from that. We never fully arrive, isn't it? That makes the journey way more meaningful than the destination. Isn't that true? You remember anybody that wants you to believe they're really spiritual and got it all together? Aren't they disgusting? They really are. And you can't do much with them other than, yeah, bless your heart. But we got to keep going. We got to recognize there's more to access. There's way more in here, and I got to get a hold of it and get it out. There's always more. Reverend Butterworth said, it is a half-truth that learning is only what we put into our minds, information that we store. He said in his day, the attitude, the philosophy of educating kids was this: slam it in, cram it in, children's heads are hollow. I mean, no, that's a very poor outlook on education, isn't it? But it's so often the way it's practiced. Just keep shoving that information, and somehow it's supposed to teach the kids something. Have you heard of a series on Netflix called Murder 101? Nobody's into murder like I am. Oh, that's all right. But it's a fascinating series about a teacher in my home state of Tennessee. His name is Alex Campbell, a sociology teacher at Elizabethton High School. And he got sick of educating kids the way he'd always done it. He said, what am I accomplishing here? All I'm doing is teaching them how to pass tests. Said that's not giving them any skills. So he came up with a very novel idea in 2018. He was going to have each sociology class involved in solving a series of serial murders called the Redhead Murders in Tennessee. And each class, he would say, all right, this is what you're going to do. We're going to gather information and evidence to find this killer. And ever since, in 2018, each class has made progress toward finding who did these crimes. And he said they're developing real-world skills, information gathering. They're understanding people skills, how to interact and get information from other people and to communicate with them. They're learning investigative skills. They're getting real stuff that they're learning. Project-based learning as opposed to just studying for tests. And said it's been remarkable. These kids love this class, and they say, I wish I could go back and do it again. But this is the way you learn. And lo and behold, they believe they've nailed the suspect. And they contacted the TBI, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, and they never would return his calls. But he didn't give up, and the kids didn't give up. They kept calling until they got hold of an agent. He said, I'd be interested in seeing your evidence. He comes to talk to the class, looks at their evidence, and said, wow, thank you guys. We're going to use this. And the series, it ends, it was a 3-episode series, but it ends on a really cool note. This TBI guy is looking at their stuff, and he suddenly says, holy blank, and then it cuts off. So you know they're going to do a sequel. But it's really cool because it's obvious they uncovered stuff that is going to help find out who committed these crimes. That's real education. That's real learning. It goes beyond head knowledge. It involves being in the flow of learning and understanding and applying. Isn't that true? You can't beat it. So we must not crowd out the creative process that comes with the flow. These kids are learning a creative process, not just getting information in their heads. It's beautiful. Reverend Butterworth, Socrates, this was his concept of education, withdrawing wisdom from within the mind of a child, out to where they could examine what was already in them from the beginning. And so it is with us, isn't it? So it is with us. Lao Tzu said, everything is healthy that flows with the universe. Makes the point, we don't make divine laws work. How many got up this morning and said, I hope gravity works today? You didn't do that, did you? Hope the sunshine works. No, it's just there. It's always there. And we learn to flow with it, don't we? Likewise, the divine flow. It's always there. It's always working. But we must get into right relationship with it. As Reverend talked about the cosmic dance. Moving in rhythm to your music. I mean, each of us have a particular musical flow, isn't that true? And the music determines the dance, not vice versa. How many know disco dancing came from disco music coming out first? Where else could you get this? So that came from Stay Alive. That the music makes the dance. And each of us has a particular music, divine music, that we need to flow with. And not try to dance to somebody else's tune. Isn't that true? What is your rhythm? What is your flow? We each must determine that for our lives to be all that they can be. I like to talk about the sponge effect, what I call the sponge effect, soaking and squeezing. Because what we soak in is what will determine what comes out when life puts the squeeze on us. Isn't that true? Isn't that right? You see people, things they say and do things, the reason they do is because they've been soaking in that beforehand. Isn't that right? What we soak in will invariably come out. Isn't that right? I know what you've been soaking in. That's evident. So we need to, and it's a beautiful thing because we got a soaking, squeezing thing going on here every Sunday, and I love it because y'all put the squeeze on me. And I love that. I never get the sense y'all are sitting there, oh, are you through yet? I never get that. It's always a sense of give me more. And I love that. It's a beautiful thing. It just makes me alive, man. But we need to soak in the goodness so that life squeezes out the best. Isn't that true? And all of us are in a circle of relationships where people need something from us. They squeeze out that life, and we need to have life that we've been soaking in to give. Isn't that true? If I speak to you in my flow, I believe I'll have the greatest impact on your life. And each of us are that way. What we soak in will determine the impact we have on the people we love and care about and people we've never even met that need something good from us. It's a beautiful thing, spider sense. Get it. Stand up if you would. Let's have our affirmation in closing. Repeat after me if you would be so kind. I have spider sense dealing creatively with life. I see beyond the wisdom of this world. There is greater splendor in me yet to be revealed. I soak in goodness and it flows freely from me. Oh, yeah, that's good. Bless you. Have your seats. Thank you so much.